And we're back.
Hey, we're back.
Hello, everyone.
We're back. Wah, wah.
We are so excited to talk about this weekend's games.
What a few good games we had
What
against
a
Team
what a
Liquid.
one good games we had.
Uh, so, yeah, this is not the series that we were hoping for, um, but it's the series we got.
It's the series we deserve.
Yeah, yeah. Is it? I don't know. That seems heavy, but maybe it is.
Yeah, it's possible. All I
Yeah.
know is that there's going to be a lot to talk about with what happened this weekend. The much anticipated Big Brother battle,
Mhm.
version 2, part
BBB.
2, BBB, Big Baller battle. Um, and the whole Rikara in for Cody's son situation. Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about Prolly and answer a couple viewer questions. And maybe we'll have a special surprise. That's not so much of a surprise at the end.
And on a high note,
Yeah.
yeah, we've got a packed agenda, and it's gonna be a good 4 hours.
I hope everyone is enjoying my new background, my new setting, which is just honestly temporary, as I have some guests at my house and they are having the time of their lives upstairs where I typically record. So I am going to have the time of my life here with all of you.
They're crashing cymbals. They're doing disco lights. Very distracting to a podcast.
Yeah, everything they can think of to keep me out of there.
A very good time for them. So
we should say this is the Den of Thieves podcast, and I'm Cole.
And I am Jordan.
And we are a couple of distinguished, probably silver level players.
probably silver. That's my
here
favorite.
To commiserate with you, here to talk about our feelings, our thoughts, our deepest emotions for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and let's just put this out there now. I don't feel rage. I don't feel what other emotions are kind of rage,
despair,
parallel.
Yeah, if you're going for that, anger.
I don't feel toxicity.
You don't feel tilted.
I don't feel tilted. It's kind of like I think I feel resigned. It's like one of those, we're just not there yet. We're just not there yet.
Well, there is a tough place to go. That's going to be my point. But let's just talk about. So let's go game by game.
Game by game.
And I know everyone is really going to want to talk about this Cody Sun and Rikara situation. We are going to talk about the games to the best of our ability about what actually happened, not what could have been at first. And then we'll transition and kind of talk about that sort of thing. If you have some questions, anything to add in the chat, please let us know. And let's kick it off with doing what we do, running the draft.
Run the draft.
That is one of my meager responsibilities. Oh, goodness. So let me do that.
Yeah.
So Sunday.
Can I just say before we get into the draft?
Oh, you had to take my thunder. Go ahead.
I had to. I'm not taking it. I'm just delaying it momentarily. I think it's important to actually look at the games and not just do like a hate spiral, a hate frenzy, because I think there are things to learn. Like, we are going to play Team Liquid again, and even if you think we should fire everyone at 100 Thieves, including all of the players and coach and staff, and just start fresh, we're gonna have to play them again. So we better learn from this. And that's why I think it's important to actually take time and go through here, not just talk about how much that the choice to play Rikara was a mistake and double lift is, just we'll never beat him. We can get to that later. There'll be a time for that. But I think it is important to do the draft.
All right. We will be counting on you to highlight those lessons.
I will. I've got it.
That will help us for Big Battle 3. Whenever that moment comes. Okay, so let's talk about drafts. So Sunday took the familiar gangplank and balled out on Kindred. Ryu took Malazar, which I think was the first time we had seen that pick from him on this split. The rookie and All-American boy, Rikara, took Jin. Aphromoo on Alistar, which I'm sure thrilled you. Impact on Ornn. Xmithie took Sejuani. Pobelter took Zillion. And something he's kind of known for, right? Double lift on Kaisa and Ole on Braum.
Yeah, man. If so it's kind of funny. Holiday weekend, I had to just squeeze these games in wherever I could. And so I watched this one live. I didn't really take notes that much as I was watching it live because there's a bunch of people in my house. And I was the guy who had it on. Yeah, I put it on. So I got the game on. It was
Turn the game off, you nerd.
What is this, though? This doesn't look like a game. No, it's just me and one other guy. And he was cool. But it was super exciting. It was a great game. Like, this was Thieves at their best. Playing for objectives. We got Someday on a carry champion. We got Anda doing Anda things.
It's gracious. Yes, we did.
So I watched this one and I took a long break. And I went into game 2 after it already happened. I was super excited. I was like, dude, I think we cracked the code. I think we got him.
Well, in a way we did, right? Because game 1 was a W, which is something that we haven't really seen a lot lately against Team Liquid. Interesting, I thought, with the draft. They burnt 2 bans on Rikara, right? Mm-hmm. They banned Tristana and they banned Swain. Respect, Rikara, earning those bans, man. They didn't want to let him have his way.
Yeah, so they saw Rikara come through and they're like, has anybody played against this guy before? And everybody said no. And like, well, we got a ban to him. And I mean, maybe that helped us in a big way. It's, we had a GP up top, which was huge, and Kindred. So
seeing Ryu on Malzahar was kind of interesting. I mean, I think that one of the things about playoffs for us, which was kind of unfortunate, is that Zoe took a nerf right into this patch, right?
Right.
And that, I mean, Ryu was just popping off on Zoe over and over and over again. He did fine on Malzahar. He really did. At least definitely, in the earlier stuff. So happy to see that. Happy to see Rikara finish with a good stat line as well. But seeing this draft, I was like, we're going to need to win this one early.
Yep.
Which scared me, honestly, because first of all, brand new player, but also it's not like we're known for our hot early game, as we've talked about over and over again. This team comp seemed to be that kind of thing for me. But it looked like we were pleasantly surprised. After Double Lift took it upon himself to try and take down Rikara at the beginning of the game and welcome him to LCS in a big, big way. Kudos to the rookie for surviving, getting Double Lift to burn a potion.
Yeah. He probably left that feeling like $1 million.
Yeah.
And
as long as that could have lasted.
There was some hyperinflation over the course of the next 3 games.
That's right.
So things I saw that were positive. Let's talk about those for a second.
Go for it.
Someday picks up first blood on Gangplank.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. It's always a good thing. Getting him a carry, getting him some feeding him up top in the top lane.
And that security was bought by Anda finding Xmithie trying to steal. So
yeah. So that was the part 1A of that positive thing is Anda just played like a madman this game. Like he was I think at one point he was top gold in the whole game. He was up like 3K gold, just madness. And he seemed to be a step ahead of Xmithie. Which is not the first time we've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that, or no, maybe I think of Dardoch. Or no, it was Xmithie, wasn't it? Where Xmithie didn't hit level 2 until like 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that the same?
That one turned on us.
It did,
but at least the early game, and that was nice. Yeah, Anda looked completely great. He was working with Ryu really well in this game.
Yep.
Getting good damage out, roaming nicely, synergizing the way that you want to, and getting marks. He had 3 marks at 6 minutes. Very impressive work from him. I think that doing the early lane swap was kind of cool. I don't know if you caught that, but we swapped lane pretty early, which actually earned us first turret down, and shortly after, Anna got his 4th mark. So the early game really opened about as well as we could possibly hope going into a game like this.
Yeah, which, you know, first game in the series, huge confidence booster. I left this game feeling like it was a new day. And gosh, so I mean, we showed up to play, and we brought some new stuff. Game 1, people showed up. Anda showed up. Someday clearly showed up. And I think importantly, we got all of the neutral objectives. So we got Baron twice, and we picked up Elder. So we kind of just outplayed him at every potential stage.
That was like peak Anda power too. I mean, think about the Lamb's Respite that he used to protect the Baron and earn them the kills afterwards.
Yeah.
I think at that point he was up. I made a note that he had 50% more gold than Xmithy did. Like earned 50% more gold at that point.
Just a minor buff he has, plus 50% total gold.
Yeah. There were some warning signs there, I should say.
What did you see?
Especially like CS on the Rikara versus Double Lift matchup was a very, very bad thing. He was down 50 CS about like 20 minutes into the game. Not good. Fortunately, Someday and Anda were both up like 70 CS each.
Yep.
And there was so much happening. There was so much action, and it felt so tense that I had trouble remembering to take notes as I watched this game. I was so into it.
Yeah.
Really cool team fighting.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And to me, so one of the key moments in my mind was, I think maybe the key moment in this match was when Ryu is just sitting in the bush and Double Lift walks up and he hits him with a suppress, the Nether Grasp. It's almost like he flashed out of it, but the whole team had showed up by then. That was the first time we'd killed Double Lift in this match. And then I think he died 2 more times, just kind of, and once was defending the Nexus when the game was over. But with Double Lift off out of the arena, in his fountain, we got, that's what allowed us to get the Baron. That's what allowed us to get those other 2 kills after the Lamb's Respite comes in. So that was the enabler play. So, thanks to Ryu, I really think that it was that play that broke it open and got us game 1. Yeah.
The standout play for me, and that was a great one. And I think there is something to be said about that. We're getting him off the Rift. I mean, he's obviously, one of the top players in NA. He's in my mind, he's got to be the MVP. I don't see him not getting that award. And maybe Sunday's a better player, but Double Lift is for sure in that first tier. So having him off the Rift is definitely a confidence booster. Doing that when you have a rookie ADC who's playing in his first game ever in LCS feels even better. But the play that really made me jump out of my seat was Aframu's flash headbutt.
Mm-hmm.
Alistar when they were pursuing up middle. Holy cow, he got 3 with them.
Yeah.
And
including Double Lift.
I think, including Double Lift, which I think led to 2 kills and a Baron. And then did some work to get us the Elder Dragon on top of that. So we had the Elder and Baron stack to clear out the game.
Yep.
In my mind, Anda was the MVP of this particular game. But again, warning signs were there, right? You had the CS stuff going on in bot lane. Another thing is we had a massive, massive gold lead, right? Like it was, I think it was pretty sustained in the second half of the game between like 6 to like 9K gold lead.
Yeah.
But we didn't really play out like we had that crazy of a gold lead. Like it felt more like we had a 3,500 gold lead or something.
Yeah.
So that kind of was not a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I no doubt felt great, but you're on edge. It's game 1.
Yep.
The Rikara wrinkle is something that it could be a 1 game only thing, right? It really could. So You look at the his finishing stat line, right, was 1-1-8.
Yep.
Which is great. That's a KDA of 9.
He had a huge curtain call to help secure the Elder. He popped at Smithy with it and brought him down to about 1 HP.
He did. He had a great curtain call. He had a couple bad ones too.
He did?
Yeah. And maybe just one in this particular match. Well, did he only play Jin one time? I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's right. So he wasn't perfect on it, but definitely had his moments. And you've got to feel good about that if your first game is in semifinals, and that's your stat line against the legend that is Doublelift.
Yeah.
So kudos to him for playing a good game. It seemed like Team Liquid almost immediately caught on. And the way that they drafted in game 2, I think, was them calling the bluff about the Rikara situation.
Yeah. So should we head straight to game 2?
Sure thing, my friend. Let me do what I do.
All right, draft us up.
Sunday took Gnar and on Poppy. Super excited to see that come through. Ryu on LeBlanc. Cody Sun. Ooh, listen to that slip of the tongue, fellas. Rikara took Xayah. Aframu Rakan. On the other side, Impact took Gangplank because he saw how cool Someday was on Gangplank and he wanted to be him so bad. Smithy took Gragas. Pobelter on Syndra. Doublelift on Jin because Doublelift saw Rikara and wanted to be like him so bad. Oleg got his Tom Kench, which not a good thing. But here's the point I was making about calling the bluff on the draft, right?
Yep.
With the Xayah Rakan duo.
Yep.
They let Rakan through, which is something that you didn't really think that they were gonna do. Rakan is a power pick for us, typically. But the thing is, you're almost certain if you leave Xayah on the table, you're almost certain to get the Xayah Rakan duo bot lane.
Yeah.
And I think they knew that having Rikara in the game, knowing that he couldn't have possibly had enough synergy with Aframu to make that thing work. I think that was a calculated risk that they took, and we saw it pay off in a big way in this game.
Yep. Yeah. And we said we're going to wait to talk about this afterwards, but I think in terms of the draft, they call their bluff, and yeah, it hurt. The other question I have on draft, and I think this is us. I don't know what the thought was behind this, but I cannot figure it out. They banned out Ryze, Kindred, and Varus in this game. We banned Olaf, Shen, and Akali. There is not, Shen maybe is a top lane ban. Why?
Yeah, it's like a flex.
Why do we pick Gnar? Like, why didn't we put Someday back? Why didn't he play a carry? I know they got Gangplank first pick. Okay, I get it. But there are a lot of other carries he could have played.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they felt like they could use some of the split pushing that he can do, or maybe that he can get that engage. When you get in Mega Gnar, you can throw people around and add some more engage to the team. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad pick.
I mean, I think in the context,
what you preferred to see.
Well, I think in the context of what we knew at the time, I agree with you. I don't think it was a bad pick because Gnar does have a lot of playmaking ability, and he was winning lane with him, right? Like don't be mistaken there. I think that's the first pick that I see us backing off. I mean, even like a Jace, right? Like give him something that he can win the game with.
And a Jace.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it before.
Something that's more of a carry champion, you mean?
Yeah, and I don't know enough to know who plays really well into Gangplank. But I think it's one of those where Someday is good enough that he can play pretty much anybody into anybody and do fine. And I feel like a lot of these games we were just going for Someday doing fine, which is not we essentially took one of our win conditions off the table.
I mean,
I know that split pushing is a win condition too.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure. I think
split push, I just think you need, like, especially if you're going 1-3-1, and we know that our bot lane is not, like, game one, our bot lane was not standing on its own. We got way out farmed. The power level was not even close to comparable. I just don't think it was a very good setup for a split push, because in this game too, he had to keep coming back to join the team, so he didn't get to split push, right?
Yeah, well, but at the same time, he was spending a lot of time out there taking care of waves, which is, something that you can leave your solo laner alone to do, which is, I think, what you want. Maybe it's not so much like a top bot split push or whatever, but maybe just like a solo push kind of concept, which worked to some degree. But you're right. Like, here, you definitely hit the nail on the head with him getting pulled back into fighting.
Yeah. Getting
pulled away from his lane. That was some of the weakness of what happened against us. But there are a couple things to point out with that. One being, and someone in the chat here said this, Pobelter on Syndra was disgusting. That was kind of getting out of hand, right? Yeah. Syndra was doing very, very well, both in lane and then in the team fights.
Yeah. Dropped a blue buff on our head once.
Yeah, gosh. I've never seen that one before. He threw the blue buff for the kill. Yeah, that was embarrassing. So there's that. But then I think, I think that's kind of part of the reason why the strat went so wrong here. I think the thought is that you're sort of forfeiting the bot lane a little bit on purpose.
Yep.
And relying on your solo laners to make up the difference.
Although I think going into the match, they probably thought Xayah Rakan is a strong bot lane for us, right?
I think that you probably feel forced to take Xayah if you get Rakan and it's available, just because of the small synergies that they have together. But the fact is, Xayah Rakan relies on a lot of coordination and experience with your bot lane working together as a team, which we know that Aphromoo and Rikara don't exactly have a very long history together in that domain. So that's, something. Yeah. That's something. Like I said, I think it was a calculated risk by TL to do that.
It was, and for sure, and it paid off.
I thought Anda played okay on Poppy. He had a couple things that were they were almost great plays that that just didn't fully materialize. Like he got he would do things like he knocked a couple people away with the hammer in the middle of a team fight, but just they couldn't burst down Team Liquid enough to really capitalize on the absence of the players that got hit back. And there were just lots of things that I felt were almost victories for us in this game. Yep. We almost won so many team fights, and it was just not enough. Like, in the end, it was just not enough.
And Afro was having a really hard time engaging. Some of those looked like he wasn't quite hitting the engage as he wanted to. And call it 50-50. Some of them were just the damage not being there. Kind of the same with Poppy, right? Like, you get a good Poppy play, but if the damage isn't there to back it up, then essentially what you have is just people kind of walking back into a team fight who can then clean up after what they left. And I think the key one is there's an Afro engage with Rakan in mid lane on Ole and Double Lift, who are kind of caught out. They're a bit out of position. And Double Lift got on them, charmed them both up. But before they could do anything, Ole had devoured Double Lift. He popped his gray health, so he essentially just did, we did nothing to him. And then Afro got killed, and then they got a Baron out of it.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing when you're like, Aphromoo was put into a bad situation, I think. I heard a lot of people talking about how he really didn't play well this weekend. And here's the thing, though. I mean, some of it was that's true. Like, some of the engages weren't perfect. He had some missteps and everything. Like, he just seemed not quite like himself.
This was not the best Aphromoo we've seen.
No, it's not.
No questions about it.
But can you blame him when he's working with someone new? And here's the other thing: if he is responsible for the team engage, and then we don't get enough damage off to capitalize on him, guess who's dying first?
Yes, because he's standing in the middle of their team.
Yeah, because his job was to get right into the middle of their team. So if they don't burst him down, he's going to go down. So that's why he's 0, 5, and 2, because that's the net effect, right? The death column goes up and the assist column goes down. It's, you know, if when those engages don't really work out. And absolutely good point about Tom Kench too. I felt like that really was a pick that we cannot let Ole have. Like Ole plays Tom Kench all the time, and he plays him well.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I agree with you that was a troublesome pick. We'll talk about Tom Kench compared to Thresh here in the next 2 games. But yeah, I mean, he was the wall that our attacks kept hitting up against, and we just couldn't break through it, especially when it was us trying to. And we got big goose egg on double lift this game. In large part because of Tom Kench being around. One last thought on this. Anda was up 800 gold just from farm at 10 minutes. He had the most gold in the game. Like I've been saying this, his early game continues to seriously impress me. And it's little stuff. Like in this one, it was brilliant. Xmithy walked down to try to steal his Krugs, thinking he might not have cleared them, and he cleared them.
He had cleared them, yeah.
He got to
waste
walk
a
up
lot of time
and take Xmithy's Krugs. So he was that's the little stuff that Anda does that I absolutely love. There are other parts of his game that he will continue to work on, but I think like better than a lot of other junglers I see, he kind of plays that early mind game and he gets the early leads. Both of these games that happened, and he was way up. Last game he caught him trying to take a red. This game he caught him on Krugs. I've been calling him the chicken thief for a long time, but it's cool to keep seeing him do that. And I hope like that might be one of the keys to us cracking open this early game riddle.
Yeah, it gives us something that we definitely didn't have before. And so when he's able to hit the early game well, it definitely changes the whole feel of the game for us. Like we feel kind of in it.
Yeah.
But the bad part is that, at some point you have to think about how much is a jungler responsible for the neutrals.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to Drakes, and we got smashed on Drakes.
Yeah, it was a 4-1.
Yeah, it was a 4-1 in this game. Of those, a couple were Infernals, and that may have been we were dwelling on the team fights where we just couldn't burst them down, and then we would get killed. Maybe it was the double Infernal stack that really was the marginal difference.
Well, I think too, I do think that the neutrals, especially Drakes, is really, if your bot lane is losing badly, it becomes so challenging to try to get those taken care of as a jungler, because you don't have lane priority down low. If Anda is taking a Drake and Doublelift walks in and he just gives him a kill and a Drake, like we're even worse off. So I'd have to look at it more, but I do think it is a complex one to try to pick apart.
Well, and as pointed out in the chat and during the cast, that Infernal take happened during his Krug steal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good point.
So he's on the opposite side of the map. You can't do anything about it. Sometimes, is it worth getting that amount of gold, which is really kind of like a double swing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like you get the gold from killing him, but you also deny the gold to them. Is that worth the Infernal Drake? Probably not.
Especially if you're playing double lift.
So maybe, and again, I agree. Like I got to go back and watch to see how this really played out. Maybe that was just Team Liquid doing a very smart reactive play.
Right. No, but that point is well taken.
Not to say it's like, super high level to go take the Drake when you find that the jungler is on the other side. But you know what I mean? It's like maybe that's just automatic, and that's how they punish it. So.
I do think that Anda needs to do a better job of at least thinking about that, right? So the fact that he was at Krugs when the Drake was taken means that he either didn't think about that potentially happening, or did think about it and just decided not to prioritize it, right?
Yeah. And or maybe he just didn't think that they were actually gonna do it.
Yeah, but that is an area for him to shore up for sure.
Yeah, I had my eye on the CS. With the Rikara situation going on, same story here. He got down big. He was down 50 at 19 minutes. We had Someday up 45, but in this one, Ryu, like we said, Ryu was getting bodied in lane by Pobelter, so he was down 30. Mm-hmm. The CS problems make a difference, man. The item completions come through quicker. The great engages get wasted when we're not able to capitalize. And they just seem to have their organization tightened up. Like they seem to have made whatever adjustments happened between game 1 and game 2 really solidified their, their superiority.
Yeah. And they did it in a way that was really unlike them. I mean, it was at 30 minutes, it was 2 kills to 4.
Yeah.
That looks a lot like a stat line that we would try to go for.
Taste of our own medicine.
Yeah. So they grounded out. We didn't make it easy for them in that game, but they pulled it off.
So they even the series. Rikara Watch is on. He's 0-3-2 on Zaya, so it's not like it was a. Well, it was bad. It wasn't like a complete disaster, you know what I mean? But it's like at that point, your Rikara is 1-1 basically. You've already got the game win. The game 2 doesn't go so well, but maybe they focus you out or whatever. I'm fine with one more game for Rikara. But game 3. By the time game 3 was 15 minutes in, you kind of knew how the rest of the entire series was going to go. So.
Yeah, this game was frankly a disaster.
How much of that? Draft, yeah, I was going to say let's do the draft because I think a lot of it had to do with the Enda pick, honestly. So Someday took Mundo. Enda took Skarner, which is, I think he had one other Skarner game earlier in the split. Ryu took Cassiopeia. Rikara took Misfortune. Aframu on Braum. And then on the other side, Impact has Ornn, Xmithie on Sejuani. Pobelter on Rise, so stealing that away from Ryu. Double Lift on Varus and Ole on Thresh. And I know you have a lot to say about that, but okay, if you don't mind, let's talk about Skarner first. So I feel like Enda's Skarner mechanics and Skarner play isn't up to par with the rest of his champion pool. And we did see him get, I think, one really nice pull off, like a flash pull with that ult. But something about it, like maybe it's the spires or beacons or whatever they're called situation that you have to manage. It doesn't work out as well for him. Like maybe that makes him focus on other things in the jungle, but I felt like he was more of a vulnerability in this game than he has been.
Yeah. Were you just seeing it across the board, or there's a specific thing that jumped out at you?
No, I think it's more of a mindset thing is what I'm talking about. Like, when you have to, it's just one more pathing thing to think about.
Oh yeah.
That can kind of lead you to make different decisions than you would otherwise.
He did get Ocean.
He did get Ocean. Good for him. Maybe if we got Triple Ocean, that would have been a little bit better. Someday on Mundo, I was very excited for. I thought, okay, yes, now we're going to see one of those someday games that we're so used to.
This it reminded me of his 0-0-0 Mundo game in a lot of ways, where it's just like he basically spent a lot of time running around chasing people, not dealing a lot of damage and not being killed, which has got to be the most frustrating thing. And especially when you have somebody who can carry a game, it was like, that is the worst look for Someday in my eyes, is when he finds himself in a situation where he just can't do anything.
Yeah. Like you'd almost be better off sitting in lane and just continuing.
Yeah. Or just
extend your CS lead,
or even get him a champion who, I mean, Mundo, we have seen him absolutely take games over on Mundo. Like, it can happen. Things have to happen in order for that to take place. The Mundo, Teamfight Mundo, when your team is behind and you haven't had a chance to really build up, you're not ahead of people, is just a sad Mundo. It's so sad, dude.
Yeah. It also felt like some of the more fundamental things that we need to do, like words and just what our vision setup is in the game, it continued to get worse. Like everything looked very tight in game 1. Game 2, it was a little shaky. And then by game 3, it was like, what are we doing? And the map was dark so much.
Yeah. Well, and we were just
I think
losing.
that especially affects Someday. You know, when you're stuck all the way up there in a solo lane.
Yeah, and you can't see anything.
Yeah.
So the thing that jumps out at me about this game is we were losing team fights very badly. We lost a team fight 4-0. They picked up a mountain off that. We lost one 3-0 in the jungle, which led to a Baron and inhibitor turret. At that point, it was 9-1 kills, right? And they had Baron, and it was 4-1 turrets. Like, when have we ever played that game? Like, when has that ever been our stat line? Or like 2 back really nasty team fight losses. It was weird.
Yeah, it's kind of uncharacteristic.
Very.
The wheels were coming off at that point. Doublelift was feeling himself. He was popping off on the Varus.
Yeah. I think he ended 8-0-5, right?
Yeah. He was vicious. And the thresh hooks.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. They landed so many of those that they didn't even have to engage on all of them. It was just like, nice hook, man. Let's wait for one when I'm a little more comfortable.
Right. I don't actually need that one. I'm gonna keep going about my business over here. Yeah, Ole looked like best support NA. You know, like he was on fire. He couldn't miss a hook. And I think I'm calling it now. I think this shows up in the Penta. And if it doesn't, it's worth going back and watching, even though it hurts me to think about it too much. There's a moment where Anda pops his Predator, and he's going in fast. He's got his little Skarner wiggle going, and he's headed straight for Impact, who is kind of in our top jungle, red side jungle, and he's about to go into the bush. So as soon as Anda steps onto the bush, he's got his Predators. I'm sure he's already clicked his ult on him. Before he can get there, as soon as he steps on the bush, a hook comes in and hooks him before he can even hook Impact. And when you watch the replay, Ole is spinning the hook up before he even comes around the corner.
Yeah, it was a completely blind, like
it was beautiful. It was.
I know exactly what they're going to do here.
stopped it from ulting. And it's like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody stop a Skarner ult, but Ole's hook managed it.
Yeah.
And then we got blown up from there.
Yeah. So the Thresh was a problem.
The Thresh was a problem.
And I don't think that's necessarily a pick we saw coming. Thresh hasn't really been prevalent in the NA meta.
Yeah.
And wow, we were not ready for that.
But it's just, I mean, it just exacerbated the Doublelift problem, right? Like, he was getting people just served up on a platter all game. And in our team, like, their team fights, basically the way team fights went in this one were basically just, we get hooked, somebody gets blown up, and then we're fighting down at least one person. If Mundo's off trying to do anything, then we're fighting down 2 people. So it was gnarly.
Yeah. I liked his hook on Rikara where they were in bot lane and he was kind of retreating a little bit and he was like zigzagging, like he knew it was coming. Oh my gosh. It was a nice patient hook. And it's like, nope, there is no way you're coming out of this one. Honestly, yeah, it was a problem. And I thought the draft was weird. The Anda pick I thought was bad, but other than that, I was fine with everything. They just were better than us. Like this was everybody back to their groove, and Liquid was just better. Which I honestly, I want to speed things up so we can talk about the Cody Sun Rikara situation. But I honestly thought it was the exact same thing as in Game 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Game 4 looked a lot.
Only difference was Someday being on Shogath, which has a different feel to it than the Mundo pick, obviously.
Yeah.
Anda back on Sejuani, which he's played very solid on Sejuani, so fine with that. Ryu took Malazar again. Rikara on Kaisa, which there's maybe a little glimmer of hope getting the Kaisa pick to come out. And Aphromu on Braum. Then on the other side, we saw Impact take Shen up top, which was really problematic for Cho'Gath.
Mm-hmm.
Like more problematic than I anticipated between Impact and somebody. It's not like Impact is a slacker, but
No, he's good, very good.
But man, he really had his way with Joe Gath up there.
Yeah.
Xmithion Trundle, who had he was 4-0-7. Poe Belter took Rise again. Double Lift took Ash to insult everybody. And Ole took Thresh again because he hadn't caught enough fish.
His barrel was full about 4 minutes into this one. Unfortunately, it went on for another 20 minutes.
At least we got first blood.
With, again, Someday and Anda up there. The next kill went to Team Liquid, basically the same setting except flip it. But yeah, man, Thresh, big problem. We were down 25 CS in bot lane at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. What? That is crazy. That's crazy. It was, yeah.
I don't have a lot to say about this game. Watching it felt like, well, this was kind of the result I was expecting. Like I thought this was how the series was going to go.
Do you think the whole series is going to be like this? Like, or before the series started?
Before the series started. Yeah.
I mean, this is like, I don't remember the specific details of the finals, but this felt worse than the finals last split to me.
I don't agree with that because we got 3-0.
Well, yeah, but I feel like the games were closer. This game was like, we may have just as well have not played this game. It was.
Yeah, no, that's fair to say because especially game 1 and game 2, I was captivated by the action.
Yeah.
Game 1, we were way out ahead, but game 2, it was decently close for a while.
Yeah.
But games 3 and 4, yeah, I just felt totally disengaged. Maybe mirroring the team's attitude a little bit. I just felt like it was over.
Yeah. So let me do my quick run through on the noteworthy things, if there are any. We killed Ole, but it took 4 people. And then he popped the stopwatch and we let him walk away, which is very bizarre. We were getting wrecked in trades early, which is another thing we don't typically see with this team. Like we were just getting chunked out in all our lanes before people had even hit level 3, which is very surprising. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, and even like some weird stuff. Like at one point we had Poe Belter gifted us a realm warp. We just realm warped into the middle of our team.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, was he maybe trying to fake it or
maybe? I don't know. It kind of looked like he turned back at one point. But then the cherry on top of this series is we gave them a free Baron.
Yeah, we really did. That
I don't think I've ever seen us do that, dude.
It's not so much that the ward we had up was problematic because it's a fine ward, but obviously you don't have full vision on the pit.
Yeah, you don't have full vision.
Need another one.
They're all gone. They're all missing.
That was really bad.
Yep. We got hooks and more hooks. It was 7-5 kills, and they were up 8,500 gold. So again, they were squeezing the map, right? They were just getting their gold from everywhere else. They had a 5,500 gold Baron power play. And then they picked up a hook on Ryu, which led to Afro, Ryu, and Rikara Someday getting killed in that order. And that was the end of the game. Yeah. A hook to just top it off.
Yeah. So again, I don't have much to say about the game because it was a mess and it wasn't good and we didn't look like we were really on our game and we felt resigned to our fate at that point, which whatever. Congratulations to Team Liquid. Big Brother wins again. So overall takeaways, okay, from this whole series.
Yeah.
I have 2 that I'm just going to let stand alone. And then my third one will lead into our next discussion. So I'll save that one for after your takeaways.
Absolutely.
First, Anda is legit. Yep. We've kind of been moving in this direction for a while. But even though he had a bad Skarner game, he is good. I'm happy to have him as a starter. I think he's starter caliber. I don't think he's the best jungler in NA, but I think he's solidly in the mid tier, and he belongs. And he plays a good role on our team as someone who can do what's necessary and follow the shot calling and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And on certain champions, he's very competent and does a lot, like Sejuani.
His Kindred is gross.
His Kindred is amazing. I think he's solid, and I don't think we should be questioning his position on the team. I think that chapter of the book has been written.
Yep.
I think we just need to like come off of that. So my next takeaway, and I already kind of made this point, was I also don't want to listen to people really talk about Aframu having a terrible series, because he didn't play that great, but he was severely disadvantaged by the situation that he was put into.
Yes.
And it's amazing that we even got a win to begin with in this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And are you saying that keep going.
No, go ahead.
Are you saying that he's disadvantaged because he's playing with somebody who he was not experienced playing with, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It takes time to build up that bond and know what the player is going to do, kind of predict what's going to happen. It's like you get to a point where you don't need to call out your moves to each other because you know what the other person is going to do, that sort of thing, right? There's no chance to have that level of synergy with him. So I feel like, yeah, he didn't play great, but he also was not in a position to really succeed. So I'm willing to give him a pass.
Yeah, he's in a dual lane and he's playing with somebody he's not familiar with. That's harder than somebody playing in mid with an ad carry they're not familiar with.
Okay, do you have takeaways from this series?
I think we took a risk bringing Rikara. I think that we're in a position as an org where we need to do that and we need to be comfortable doing that. I think the next step for us is to start planning our next step after we take that risk. It felt a little bit like we had committed to something and we then just said, well, it's not really working. What should we do? I guess let's just keep doing what we came here to do. Right. Like it felt half baked to me. I have
a lot to say about that.
Yeah, that may be our next topic, right? That segue us. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I may launch into this tirade or like a monologue and go on for a long time. So I apologize if that's the case, and feel free to jump in.
No, please say your part.
Okay. So the Rikara situation. So I wanted to start off with what we know. Okay. So let's throw out the speculation that's been done. And let's just focus on like what we know about the situation factually.
Yep. Did you see Cody-san's tweet before you get into this? That he said,
I
okay, good. And do you want to just summarize that really quick for people who haven't seen it?
Well, Cody, he came out and said that, people were like, oh, maybe he's sick, or maybe he has like an injury or something. He's not able to play, especially because I think Prolly had made some comment about a lot of players have been sick during scrims or something. So he tweeted that he was not sick. He was not injured. It was not an emergency situation or anything like that. The coaches had decided to play Rikara and that they had instructed him to stay home.
Right.
So, yes, I'm going to revisit that.
Okay.
So
but
rewind.
Good facts to get out there.
Yeah, well, but there's something missing in there also. So here's what we know about the Rikara situation. We had been trending extremely poorly against Team Liquid. Okay, so we were 1-6 against them in the org's history, and that one was week 2 of Spring Split. Okay, so Team Liquid, Big Brother, they had been owning us completely, and it wasn't close. It was us getting worked. All right. Here's what we also know: Cody, in particular, Cody-san, had struggled very badly against Doublelift. Okay. Now, there have been a lot of people who, I've heard even on the dive, they mentioned this, but they never actually pull the stats and they never actually look at how Cody had performed against Doublelift. I wanted to do this last week, kind of ran out of time. So I'm going to do this right now. I pulled stats from their matchup, like very, basic, stat lines and CS stuff. Here's what we know. So the first game ever, spring, week 2, Cody goes 5-2-7. Doublelift goes 2-2-2. 100 Thieves win. Cody's out CS by about 50. Okay. Spring, week 7, 100 Thieves lose. Cody goes 1-1-0. Doublelift 2-0-4. And again, out CSs him like crazy. Then we go to the playoffs where we play 3 games against them and lose all 3. Cody goes 3-2-2 in game 1 to Doublelift's 4-1-5. Game 2, Cody goes 1-2-1 against Doublelift's 3-0-6. And in the final game of that series, Cody goes 1-2-1 against Doublelift 6-0-4. Okay, so you see it kind of like snowballing.
Yeah.
And the CS lead every time is very bad.
Like hundreds at the end.
Not hundreds, but you're talking like 50 to 70, that sort of thing.
Not hundreds, but I think for some of these, it was like 100 plus in this series.
That's possible. I don't remember it being that much, but fast forwarding to summer. So this split.
Yep.
Week 1, Cody goes 4-3-2. Not bad, but Doublelift goes 9-1-7. Out CSs him like crazy. Week 7, Cody goes 1-3-3. Doublelift goes 2-0-4. Okay. So what is that all time? All time in the matchup between the two of them. Cody is 16-16-9 for a KDA of 1.7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Doublelift is 28-4-32 for a KDA of 15. Okay, so 15 to 1.7, all while Doublelift is massively out CSing him.
Right.
And more than just the performance portion of it, it truly felt like there was a nerves issue. Like something about this matchup in particular, maybe it's playing against, somebody who you look up to and you idolize and you want to be, feel the pressure. But that was a very lopsided matchup, okay? Yep. And it was only getting worse. It was not getting better. It was not trending the other way, okay? So that's
the 2 games this split weren't, it wasn't like a line, right? Where it's like he's 15-0-7, he's 24, like.
I don't know, man. You have the games from this split. Mm-hmm. Cody's KDA in the first game was 2 to Doublelift's 16, mm-hmm. and his KDA in week 7 was a barely over 1.25 to Doublelift's 6 and perfect, right?
Yeah.
Now that is not everything. That stat line is not everything, right? But it's. Over time, the stats really do paint a good picture. So you combine that with the CS that we saw, there were big problems there, okay? So that's factual. That's not speculation, okay?
Right. Yep.
So here's something we also know. There was a post from Jackson in the Discord for 100 Thieves where he kind of addressed the fact that Rikara started. And they said, we plan to start Rikara. That's what they said. We plan to start Rikara. Mm-hmm. And that we thought the coaches thought this put us in the best position to win. So our best chance of winning was to start Rikara, basically. Okay. Note, they do not say to play Rikara for the whole series.
Right.
Okay. And this is something that they did specifically in the best of 5. So continuing on, here's what we know. So like Cody mentioned in his post, Cody was told to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And 100 Thieves didn't officially corroborate this, but I we know he wasn't there.
Right.
And there's no way, if everything's good between you, that you're not having your sub there with you. Like, why wouldn't he be at the studio?
Right.
Okay. So fill in the gap. Obviously, something was really bad, and probably. This is where I'm crossing over speculation, right? But I feel pretty confident in this speculation. I feel like he did not take this decision well.
Right.
Now, part of me thinks that's understandable because you're the starter and it's the critical matchup in playoffs that you're looking forward to. Win this one and you go to Worlds. Mm-hmm. that sort of thing, and you don't get to play. But I'm telling you, like, something had to have gone down. If he humbly accepted that decision and was cool with it and was like, yeah, whatever the team needs to do to win, I'm sure he would have been at the studio. And I'm also sure that they would have been ready to sub him back in. I don't think it was the plan to play Rikara in all of the games.
Right.
I think there was potential for them to rotate Cody Sun back in when it started going south. So maybe game 3, but definitely game 4. I think in an ideal situation, everything played out the way that they had hoped, that they could have subbed him back in. But at that point, damage is done, and it's probably pretty difficult to try and play him back in. Plus, if he had to be away from the team, the reaction must have been awful. Okay, so that part of it is speculation from my end, but I feel pretty like that's pretty reasonable speculation. Okay, yeah. So for everyone to say, why would they tell him to stay home? You're right. Why would they tell him to stay home? Something went down. Okay, right. That's not like, no, well, yeah, we want Rikara, and we just won't take him to the studio. No,
we get subs, but we're not gonna bring him.
This is about winning, right? They'll have every weapon that they have in their arsenal with them, ready to go if they can.
Yeah.
Okay. So, something else that I heard, like, people were talking about, like, well, I don't agree with the decision. Even if we lose with Cody Sun, it feels better to lose with him than it does to lose with the car. This ain't about losing, though. You have to, like we talked last week, we said you've got to do something.
Yeah.
The Cody Sun matchup had not gone well. Something drastic had to happen. Well, they went really drastic with it.
Yeah.
And it was a huge gamble. Guess what? We won a game. That's not something we did last year. We
won the first game.
Rikara won his first game. He went 1-1-9 on Jhin in his first game.
After game 1, Rikara had a 100% win rate against Doublelift.
Yeah, right. So
undefeated against Doublelift.
It's a very very nice way of putting it. Okay, so I won't go like game by game with Rikara and Doublelift comparing their stats. I could if I wanted to, but we're taking a lot of time on this. But just a reminder, all time Cody Sun against Doublelift, KDA 1.7, Doublelift KDA 15, and Doublelift out CS'd him like crazy. Okay, so look at Rikara, his KDA across all 4 games, all series. So admittedly small sample size, but Cody's sample size is not much bigger. Okay, Rikara's KDA was 2 to Doublelift's 12.7. So Rikara improved by 0.3 on the KDA, and then Doublelift declined by 2.3 on the KDA. Right?
But he had but Doublelift never died after game 1.
Sure, but the net is still positive. It's not a massive change, right? But it is a change.
And Rikara only got 2 kills the entire series.
But he got assists. Right?
He got 8 in game 1.
Right, and he was it 8 or 9? It was 9, I think, in game 1.
It was, well, yeah, 1 kill, 8 assists.
Right. So, I mean, Cody, yeah, see, that's definitely the thing. Cody got a lot more kills than assists when you're comparing the two. But Rikara was still there, dying less frequently than Cody Sun. And the net difference was a positive for the team. And not only when you look at those stats, but when you look at the fact that they took a game. And remember, they don't have Meteos either. So they switched junglers in the middle of the season. They put in a rookie for his first game ever against Doublelift, and they took a game off of him. That's better than last season.
I think
last split. Excuse me.
I think it's statistically it's net positive, but with all the other stuff we talked about, right? Like the strain that this puts on Afromu, the position it puts him in, asking him to play. And that's why I agree with you. I can't imagine that the plan was to have this be Rikara, Afro, bot lane the whole way, because there are there are other costs to having somebody in there who is not your typical lane partner, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. And by the way, if they would have cut it off earlier, then the stat difference would have been even
it would be
bigger
insane.
in the positive direction. Now, again, I am not arguing that the stats is the be-all, end-all thing, especially because KDA can be, skewed in weird ways, like in what's a kill and what's an assist and, what's the weight there. But I'm telling you, they took a game, which is not something we expected, and it was an improvement over last year. At least they threw a wrench in it.
They had to try something, and they tried something, and they came out with a more positive result than they did in the finals. You could look at games 3 and 4 and say, yeah, okay, more positive versus getting smashed in 2 of your games. But we won a game. That's progress. The thing that is a shame is you look at it Cloud9, right? They basically have hot swappable players in their squad. Like, people come in and out, people go, play all over the place. If we could get this team to that point, and this is actually, it's disappointing if what you're hypothesizing here is true. This is actually incredibly disappointing, because look back to Rift Rivals and Meteos. That's how Meteos left the organization, right? Like, they said, hey, we're bringing up these 2 guys. We want to get them some reps. Well, whatever they said, it doesn't matter. And he said, okay, I'd like to go somewhere else, please. So we have to, one, as an organization, I think also as a league and as players, like, NA is never going to get to the next level if we're strat locked by the 5 people we have on our starting roster. And if organizations are afraid to bring people in because everybody's going to quit, essentially, or it's going to be some major blow up and you're going to be left with a really suboptimal roster. And this is a suboptimal roster over 4 games. Make no mistake. This is a brilliant roster for 1 game and maybe 2 games, but we got exposed games 3 and 4 in a big way. I would have loved it if we could have brought Rikara for game 1. He did his job beautifully. 1-1 and 8. That is so positive a swing from what we usually have against Doublelift, and I'm guessing for what most teams have against him. You'd have to be crazy to go into, if somebody said, hey, would you take a 1-1-8 line on your ad carry against Doublelift? Nobody would turn that down. So,
right. And again, let's point this out again. I think the plan all along was to be able to have Cody there.
Yes.
But if Cody reacts in this terrible way and it just does damage, then it has to, he has to be kept away from the team. Like, it's that bad. You can't necessarily just swap him back in. So, and maybe that does point to something that the org can do better in their messaging and the way they talk to these players. But it's not a decision they don't have the right to make. It's not a decision that should be taken personally.
Yeah.
They're trying to find a way to win.
Yeah.
And
it's true in all sports.
Right. And I am sure that 100 Thieves wanted Cody to be at the studio.
Yeah.
It was not their intention to keep him away.
Why would it be? Why would you limit your roster intentionally?
And then here's the other thing. I am also willing to bet that decision was a Team Liquid series only decision. Say they had beaten CL, I am sure Cody Sun would be in for the final.
Right. And maybe Rikara is there to get a sneaky pick in. Not sneaky if we're playing C9, but that's why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you have him there and say, okay, we're going to break out a strat now that they haven't seen before because they've never scrimmed against Rikara. They don't know him. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am totally fine with the team trying to find a way to create a little bit of chaos and take advantage of that chaos and shake things up, right? We saw it in the NBA finals with Golden State starting JaVale McGee. Mm-hmm. For those who follow NBA, that's crazy, basically. But they created some chaos, and it worked out really well for them. You have to be able to take Hail Marys if you've, been in such a poor position ahead of that.
And I don't remember the news from the time, but I don't think anybody quit Golden State after they got benched. I could be
they
wrong.
also won, so that's different. But let me just continue saying a few more things because I feel pretty strong about a few things. So here's the other thing: 100 Thieves, the organization, still does not owe us any sort of explanation for everything that they're doing. Now, they already said something about like, hey, we plan to start Rikara, blah, blah, blah. We're all going to want to hear why Cody was kept away from the studio or whatever. And yes, I would love to hear that too. But that is not something that we should feel that they owe us an explanation for.
Right.
And sometimes those kind of things just need to be kept private and handled, especially if it is like if this does cause some like waves with the team chemistry or with Cody's confidence, like maybe that wrecked his confidence a bit. And so he's going to, be facing more challenges in the future. Like these things, it's a risk for a reason, right? It's something that you are trying to do, shake things up that could go south.
Mm-hmm.
I think it certainly went south in that way.
Yeah.
Maybe was a little bit more positive on the Rift. You could argue that it's marginally a little more positive on the Rift. But they don't need to release a video explaining every single detail of what happens. That's as much as I would love that, as much as I would love to be in their brains and to hear what they thought. And to hear Prolly like lay out every single detail about this, we probably are not going to get that. And maybe when the heist comes out, we'll get a little bit more of what the feeling was. But I don't think we should expect that.
It's a really good point, and I think you've actually convinced me that I don't even want to know, because I think about
dude, and then I did my job poorly because I want to know. Like I'm dying to know.
But think about it, right? Like, let's say it is what you think it is, or you suspect it might be. If this has all happened because essentially, Cody didn't react well to some news that he didn't want to hear, and things, like unraveled a bit. The way to fix that is not to air all of the dirty laundry in the 100 Thieves organization. So
that's going to hurt both parties in the end.
Yeah. So it's not even like, I think at some point that we need to say, hey, look, I understand that this probably wasn't an intentional choice, because like if it was an intentional choice, I would be more concerned because it seems really ill-advised. And I understand that you guys are working through it. And I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt here that you're working on it, right? Like clearly this didn't go as planned, and let's just move on, because look, we saw some positive things. We tried something as an organization that we hadn't done before, and it paid off until it stopped paying off. But that seems like that may have been a little bit it certainly wasn't the plan.
Yeah. And so it paid off, in the game for us for a little bit, like you said, and it may have done more damage behind the scenes. It may be in the long run something that ends up being bad. Maybe, like I said, maybe it's damaging to Cody or whatever, but, and so maybe the team has some things that they can, kind of fix messaging with or whatever. But I just will defend their right to try stuff. I don't think it was a crazy decision. I think it was a plan that had hit an obstacle when Cody reacted in a way that they weren't expecting. That is my theory.
Yeah, and I'm a huge proponent of. I think it's on the player. I'm not talking about Cody's son here. Organizations, whether it's sports, business, whatever, they're going to make the decisions that they need to make to have the highest chance to win, whether that's selling the most widgets or beating Doublelift. It's the organization's responsibility to do that. And if they're not doing that, they're not doing their job. It's the player or the individual's responsibility to accept those decisions and do what they need to do to become the best option, right? So the the response that I would expect and hope to see in a situation like this, you get some moves you don't like. And again, I'm not saying that Cody-san did this. Nobody would want to be benched in the semifinals in their thing that they do. But that feels bad. But when it feels bad, what you need to do is you need to triple down, and you need to understand why it is that the organization doesn't think you're the best bet, and then make sure that the next time they're in that position, you are the best bet. And that's true for everyone on the team. And it's discouraging to see when people, and again, broadly, when people don't react in that way, because it minimizes an organization's chance to actually accomplish their goals. If they have to weigh the potential risks here of, are we going to create havoc in the team? Is somebody, are we going to create disharmony in the roster? Like, that's just one more thing that minimizes your chances to win. And I think we saw it play out here in a big way, because we had to maximize them after game one and then slowly stepped down till we absolutely had no chance.
Yeah. So. Well, so let me make one more point, and then we'll have to speed through our next few things.
Yep.
To keep.
We'll do a lightning round. Yeah.
Yeah. But the season is not over. Okay.
Correct.
So we're going to play the third, fourth match, and we're going to have a shot at still. I mean, if Team Liquid wins, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still the number 2 seed in Worlds, right?
I think so. I don't know if it's dependent on our placement third or fourth, but I think that if Liquid wins, we're in.
Yeah. So there's that. Plus, there's the gauntlet. Otherwise, like there is more League of Legends to be played for us.
Much more.
So let's not get, let's not act like this is the end of the season, even though that's, something that obviously we would have hoped to place higher in the playoffs. Which kind of brings me to another quick point that I'll make. I saw a lot of people who didn't like the Cody Sun thing calling for Prolly's job. Here's just a quick reminder about Prolly. And I don't know a whole lot about him, to be honest. Like, I've seen what I've seen on the Heist. I don't really know much of his history as a player before this. But here's what I know. 100 Thieves was brand new this year. Their regular season, they finished first in their first split. And then they finished second in the playoffs in their first split. Okay. Then in split number 2, your regular season, you finished third. And then we're going to finish third or fourth in the playoffs. Okay.
Right.
So if you look at it this way, the average finish for the regular season in year 1 of this organization is second.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is ahead of Team Liquid, by the way. It's ahead of everybody. That's the best. If you take these 2 splits and say, like, who had, who scores the most points for placing higher in the regular season, it's us. Okay. And then the final standings, like the playoff standings or whatever, will finish either like 2.5 or third place. Right. That's still better than everyone else except for Team Liquid.
Right.
So stop. Okay. Like, if anything, we have overachieved. Okay.
Big time.
Like, it's, if anything, we felt like a little shaky, and we're not sure if we've really got what it takes to go very far, and we end up going pretty far. And as someone who is a fan of a lot of traditional sports teams that do very poorly year after year after year, second place ain't too bad.
Yeah.
There's not much higher to go from there. We don't need to fire Prolly.
We're in a position where, and by the way, fire Prolly before we finish. Like, when would you fire him? After we go to Worlds? Before we go to Worlds? And that's not a lock yet, but it is. We have still put ourselves in a position where it's more likely that we go to Worlds in our inaugural season than not, which is insane. And so, yeah, you don't fire him. You might give him a raise. Let's just rein it in here. Come on.
Yeah. So I strongly disagree with calling for Prolly's job. So that's all I'll say. I understand why people are upset. I get it. I really do. It seems insane when you first look at it, but there's a method behind the madness, and we did a little bit better against Liquid. So I'll take it.
And like, let's not forget this either. The opportunity cost here was finishing potentially first. Like, it's first to fourth. That's our range. It's not first to ninth, right? Like this wasn't the match that decides whether or not we are kicked out of the league. It's so
yeah.
Let's take it easy.
Dial it back a little bit. Let's be reasonable and let's be fans of our team. Cheer on the things that they do, and we'll go from there. Okay, really quick. Let's hit these viewer questions because I hate to get viewer questions and not answer them.
Yes.
So let's hit those quick, and we will do the big announcement. So, viewer question 1: should we have run a mage bot lane during this series?
Yeah. So I'm not. I've said before I haven't watched a ton of Academy, which means I'm not actually that familiar with Rikara myself. But it sounds like he does have a pretty wide champion pool. The thing that I think would have been interesting is if in game 4, especially, as a way to kind of just try to bring another surprise into it, try something, right? So if he has a pocket pick, if he's got a mage, Doublelift is a player who I doubt sincerely is going to be caught off guard enough to swing a match entirely with something like that. But at that point, it's kind of like it's free time, right? Like, let's just try something, put him on somebody who he feels confident with, and who knows what happens. So the question, I'd say it's a good question to ask. And I think it's really getting at what strats could we or should we have tried. I don't think it would have hurt.
Yeah, so obviously it depends on Rikara's champion pool, like you said, and I don't really know much about what his pool's like, but I do know that in NA, the bot lane mage is kind of fallen out of the meta towards the second half, and there's probably a reason for that. But I do think it's a kitchen sink option, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What else do we do at the end? And I think even in one of the games, the analysts were maybe speculating that he would take Swain, that Rikara would take Swain. We didn't end up seeing it. Again, kitchen sink option. I'm good with it if we do it in game 4, like you said.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with how the picks played out for Rikara, honestly. Okay, viewer question 2. Why wasn't Cody there, which we answered? And then will he be at Worlds? It's a yes. It's a yes. Like I said, I think the plan all along was that the Rikara thing was going to be for Team Liquid only. I think this was a move that addressed a specific situation. And when it comes to even if it's the gauntlet or even if, we qualify on points, I think we're going to see Cody Sun back, assuming that whatever happened at the house, which I firmly believe something went down, assuming that gets remedied in an effective enough way.
Yeah. I still want to see him play against TSM. I still think that's our best chance to win. So I hope that it happens. And then if, assuming we make Worlds, I think, and I think Rikara absolutely has earned himself a substitute spot with game 1 alone, right?
Yeah, and I think we can take 7 on our Worlds roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, at this point it's Rikara Levi, and we go with that. So.
There we go. So the answer is yes.
Okay, so let's finish by announcing who is going to be the winner of our very first giveaway. That's right, we are giving away a Summer Split jersey. Thank you to everyone for the reviews in the iTunes store and the comments of the YouTube, the subscriptions, the follows on Twitter, the retweets, all of the wonderful things that you did to help us get a little bit more visibility, help us get this podcast a little bit out. And in return, we have randomly selected a winner, and we would love to gift our friend Micah Rivas a jersey. So congratulations to Micah on the win.
Yay Micah.
For you. Yay, Micah. We will be getting in touch with you and look forward to sending that jersey your way. And
as soon as we get it, we still don't have it.
As soon as we get it, yes. our orders should ship in the next couple of days. And we'll get in touch with you. We'll get your address and we'll send that thing out and let you rep 100 Thieves as we put on our jerseys. Like I said, I got mine with my League of Legends gamer tag on the back, so I'm excited to get that. And
my gamer tag is Thieves, so it just worked out perfectly.
Yeah, Thieves. It's easy. Save me $15. So. Again, so thank you to everyone for doing that. And thanks to everyone for tuning in, especially those who are in the chat. We love watching that, seeing the comments come through, having you guys correct us when we say something that's idiotic or wrong. Appreciate it. I can say confidently, I guarantee there will be more giveaways in the future. So everybody who didn't win, especially some of our friends who are very, very active with us, that we really hope something can work out there. There will be more giveaways in the future, more chances.
Maybe a sticker. Maybe a
Get your
sticker.
hands on some merch. Yeah. All right. Well, again, thanks everyone for joining us. That's going to do it for this week. We are so sad that we lost Big Brother Battle 2, but there will be more Big Brother battles in the future.
There will be. And in the near future, we'll have another TSM Classic coming at us next week. So
right, there's still some cheering on to do.
Look forward to discussing that with you all next Sunday.
Yeah, and we'll be eagerly waiting to see if any more information comes out on the Cody situation. No matter what, we wish him the best. We wish Rikara the best. Rikara, man, you did a good job.
Yep. Tough matchup. And
tough matchup. Good job to all the Thieves, man.
Yeah. Everybody can.
We lost, but dang, if I don't love this team, man, it's a good team.
We'll figure it out one day. I mean, we got 1 this time. We get 2 next time. Or maybe we'll get 3. Who knows?
All right. Thanks for tuning in. That'll do it for us. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Take care.
Take care.